A new figure zooms onto the horizon of law and order. The Black Hood, man of mystery. The greatest force of truth and justice the world has ever known. But first, our story starts in the city of New York, with Officer Kip Berlin patrolling his beat. Well, howdy, Kip. How's tricks today? Couldn't be any better, Mr. Khan.
You gonna referee the pal bouts tonight, Officer Kip? The neighborhood certainly has been peaceful since Kip came on this beat.
It certainly has, and all the children idolize him, too.
10 minutes till midnight. Well, I guess I'll meander past the old Woodrow mansion before I knock off for the night.
Well, what goes on there?
Strange, he's in a masquerade costume. I better investigate.
Hey, you! Stop! Stop. Why? Because a mere policeman orders me to? Holy Jupiter, what is this, a man or a corpse? Fool, you dare to interfere with the skull? Insolent meddler, you shall pay for injuring my dignity. Man or corpse, indeed. Your brother officers shall find you with these few baubles in your hand, and arrest you for the crime I have just committed. I've been leading the police on such a merry chase that they'll be glad to pin my crimes onto any victim. This will bring them in a hurry.
Gosh, Kip Berlin with a handful of diamonds. Who'd have thought that of him?
He must have tripped when he came off the balcony.
There's nothing lower than to use your uniform as a cover while you rob the people you're paid to protect.
I tell you, I was framed. Berlin's story makes sense. We don't have much evidence against him other than the diamonds he had, but the newspapers have been after us for a long time, and if we convict him, that will keep them off our tails. As police commissioner, it is my duty to relieve you of your badge. You will report to the county jail to go on trial for grand larceny.
Out on bail. They won't listen to me or give me a chance to explain. The only way I can clear myself is by bringing in that walking corpse who framed me.
For the few days preceding his trial, Kip prowls the streets of the city, ever on the alert for the man who had caused his disgrace. One night.
Fur warehouses don't get deliveries at this hour. That's a robbery. And maybe my friend is tied up with it. I can't afford to pass up any bets. Come on out in the open, rats. I want one good look at each of your faces.
Hey, boss, a raid!
Fools, it's just one man. Take care of him. You're the man I want.
You'll need more than bullets to pierce the skull's clothes. Get him, you incompetent slobs.
How's this, boss?
Splendid. He's the same fool policeman who tried to cross me once before. He shall have no more opportunities to waste my precious time. Get rid of him.
When we get a couple of miles up the post road, we'll toss him out.
Better pump some slugs into him first.
Yeah, now I'll give him a couple on the fly, too, for good measure. Now step on it, Joe. Let's get out of here, quick.
Shots! Someone is shooting. I'd better investigate. They come from the direction of the road. He's still alive, but only instant medical attention can keep the flame of his life from flickering out. I pray that my medical knowledge does not fail me now. This man has a remarkable constitution. I took 8 bullets out of him, and he still lives. 4 days now that he's been in a coma, hovering between life and death. I wonder who he is. He doesn't look like a gangster, and yet it's evident he was taken for a ride. Where am I? In the cabin of a hermit, miles deep in the woods. You came close to death, lad, but you're well on the way to recovery now. I owe my life to you, so you might as well know everything about me. I was a policeman until I was framed for a robbery by some criminal who looks like a living corpse. Then all the years I served the public meant nothing. Looks like a living corpse, eh? And it must be the skull. I know him well. Many years ago I was a sheriff in a small western town, but he made me an outlaw. I swore that I'd study and work and become smart enough to defeat him, but my studies took a long time. And now that I'm smart enough, age has sapped my strength. So in the long battle of life, I've been defeated by the skull.
Not necessarily. I'm young, and I can be strong again. Teach me what you have learned, and I'll make your fight against the skull my fight. I too have reasons to hate him.
No, son, the skull only represents crime. If I teach you what I know, you must promise to use your knowledge against all crime and all criminals.
I promise you that gladly. Thus, Kip Berlin starts his training both to rebuild his strength and to learn all of science and all of knowledge in order to make himself the world's greatest fighter against crime. And then, many months later, the Black Hood is born.
With the name and the costume of the Black Hood, you are now a man of mystery, and that you must remain. For only mystery can strike terror in the hearts of criminals.
I'll do that, and you shall not regret having made me your pupil. Now, goodbye. In the meantime, the skull has been making a laughingstock of the law, robbing wherever he pleases, spreading terror among the police, giving warnings of his crimes, then boldly committing them under the very eyes of the law. Ha! The fool police! They think they can cope with the skull. This is interesting. Barbara Sutton is having a masquerade party for her debut in 2 weeks, and the richest men and women in the country are expected to attend. In the Sutton home in New York. Be sure you mail all those invitations, James, and be sure you call the decorator and the caterer. Very good, Mrs. Sutton. What is this? A note, madam, addressed to you. Oh, dear Mrs. Sutton, I forgive you for overlooking me when you sent out invitations, but never fear, the skull shall not miss your daughter. Oh, Barbara! Barbara, this is terrible, horrible, awful. Oh, Barbara, look at this. I'm coming, Mother. Kindly notify your other guests if they fail to attend the party. I shall visit them later personally. Well, what can we do? He says that if we notify the police, or if anyone who has not already been invited comes to the debut, the 10 richest guests will be killed. Well, we'll have to do what he says and go ahead with the party. What is happening? The skull's going to visit Barbara's debut. The skull's warnings go out to a banker. Well, the Suttons say the skull knows exactly what jewels I possess. A society matron. If I don't wear all my jewels, the skull will kill me and steal my jewels later. And a prominent young lawyer, David Cummings. The skull will take the jewels he wants sometime during the night, and any victim who raises an outcry will die. In New York, we find the Black Hood, but he lives under an alias, for Kip Berland is an outlaw wanted for grand larceny and bail jumping. The nerve of the skull announcing his plans for the Sutton debut in the papers. I think I'll look into this. The night of the Sutton masquerade debut. You're David Cummings, aren't you? Yes, what can I do for you? Plenty. Get in that room and give me your invitation to the Sutton party. I'm going there posing as you. I can't! I can't! I must go to the party myself! The skull will kill me if I don't! Sorry I have to do this to you, but it's absolutely necessary. And don't worry, I'll see to it that the skull doesn't harm you. Mr. and Mrs. Van Rensselaer, I'm so glad you came.
Hello, Barbara.
Has the skull come yet? Has anyone seen him?
No, there's been no sign of him yet. Why, David Cummings. That's quite a novel costume you're wearing. Are you frightened because the skull is coming?
Not particularly.
Well, you have no reason to be frightened, David. After all, you have nothing the skull could possibly want.
I guess that's right, Mrs. Sutton.
Come on, David, let's dance.
Yes, go ahead. You children dance. All the guests have arrived now, Barbara, so you won't have to greet anyone else at the door. Let's all try to have a good time, even though this terrible shadow is hovering over all of us.
I don't know why, David, but somehow I like you much more tonight than I ever did before.
That's strange, isn't it?
Help! Help! I've been robbed! My pearls! What happened?
The skull!
Oh! The skull? Here?
The victim falls dead on her feet. Her flesh starts shriveling until her face is a caricature of the skull.
Look, this is what killed her. The skull caught her in the jugular vein with your poisoned pellet.
He's in here all right, disguised as one of the guests. And he's using a blowgun to quiet his victims. Those pellets must have been dipped in a poison that eats away all the flesh of the face. Silence! The skull speaks. You have just seen what happens when my victims are noisy. I trust my next victim will be wiser and stay alive. Oh dear, it's happened! He's here! Who will be next? I can't stand this. I think I'm going to faint.
Don't faint yet, Mrs. Sutton. We're the newspaper photographers, and we'd like to have your permission to take some pictures.
I can't be bothered now. David, be a dear and take care of these gentlemen of the press.
I'd be glad to. The Suttons are candid camera fiends. They'd like it if you boys got up on the balcony and take all the pictures you want while nobody is expecting them. That's right, you get over to the other side so you can cover the entrance. There's just one thing I've got to demand. The Suttons are very particular about what kind of pictures they allow to be printed. So you'd better set up a dark room and develop the pictures right after you take them. I'll have to okay them all.
Sure thing.
You're sure acting like a real soldier, Barbara. Bearing up the way you're doing under all this strain.
I don't know why it is, David, but I feel awfully safe when you're around. And heaven knows you never affected me this way before.
Suddenly.
I've been robbed! I've been robbed!
Look, her head looks like a skull.
What'll be next, I wonder? She shouldn't have shouted. I can't stand any more of this.
You've got to be brave, Mrs. Sutton. Everything would be all right if the victims didn't scream.
Well, what can we do, David?
I'll see if the photographers have caught anything else I can use. Oh, very interesting. He's smart, this skull. Darn smart. But his conceit in letting the photographers come is going to prove his undoing. Shall we dance, Mrs. Sutton?
Why, David, I'd love to dance with you. David, can't you do something to try to catch the skull?
I wouldn't dare, Mrs. Sutton. He's far too dangerous. But I'll catch you. In you go. Down into that jug good and tight. And drop that cigarette holder.
Oh, David, how dare you? Oh, help! What's going on?
Who'd the skull kill now?
David! Mother! What on earth is happening?
Stay back, all of you. I've got something interesting to show you.
David must be the skull! He must be the one! David, don't you dare touch my mother!
Don't worry, Barbara. I won't touch your mother. I just want to introduce you to... the skull!
Dog, you'll suffer for this. You'll live to hate the day you were born.
You'll probably find your mother safe at home, Barbara. Maybe just a bit shaken and frightened, but not hurt. And you'll find David Simon at his home in the same condition. Now call the police. They're stationed outside.
But who are you?
Me? I'm the Black Hood. Goodbye now.
But won't you wait and let me thank you?
Come along, Skull. We've got the hot seat waiting for you.
The Black Hood? I wonder who he is. And why he ran from the police. And gee, I'd love to see him again.
The next night. Hello, Barbara. Remember me?
The Black Hood!
I thought I owed you a little explanation. These pictures are the things that tripped up the skull. He had his cigarette holder fixed up to blow poison darts. By the way, how is your mother?
Oh, she's fine. Completely recovered from her shock. Well, Mother says that just before she left for the party, she went into her room and the skull was there. He took her costume and then disguised himself to look like her.
That's right, and being a master of voice imitation, he had no trouble on that score.
But who are you? And how can I see you again? And why did you run away from the police?
Who I really am and why I ran from the police, I cannot tell. But if you want to see me, you can look for me. Look wherever crime is being done, wherever innocent people are being oppressed, wherever injustice reigns. There you will always find the Black Hood, fighting to right all wrongs. And so I guess that ends the career of the skull. The police took him under heavy guard to the death house.
The police took him? My son, you made a big mistake. The jail has not yet been built from which the skull cannot escape.
So the Black Hood will be wherever there is trouble. Well, Barbara, from now on, you go looking for trouble, and when you find it, yell long and loud for the Black Hood.
So the Black Hood challenges the skull. He won the first deal, but we'll see. We'll see. The Black Hood versus the skull. Is this battle finished, or does the skull escape? Find out in a future episode of the Public Domain Comic Book Network.